notice the following. When prices were going up, world oil production did not increase. In fact, it did decrease. And look at the dip in the green line when prices start going up. OPEC production decreased in 2005, 2006. When prices reached record in March and April, OPEC production declined by 400,000 barrels. But even those are misleading numbers for another reason. Because while OPEC and the US government is talking about production, forget about production. Production means nothing to the market. What we should focus on is exports. Because what the advantage of increasing production by 200,000, but the exports are going down by 1 million. So we should focus on exports, and OPEC exports declined by about 2 million barrels in the last 2 years. No one is paying attention to that. OPEC exports declined by 2 million. And one reason because of declining production, the other reason is their domestic consumption been increasing substantially in the last few years because of the boom in the economy, because of higher oil prices, and because they are looking at the rhetoric of energy independence by US politicians and saying, look, those guys do not want my oil anymore. Therefore, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invest in energy-intensive industries and export this oil in the future embedded in steel, in petrochemicals, in aluminum, or something else, because those guys are threatening me. So what happened is their domestic production, consumption is increasing substantially, and everyone is going to pay the price for that. So we should focus on exports instead of production. So you can see the decrease in non-OPEC on the top. You can see the decrease in OPEC production. And then you can see the decline in oil prices. And that decline took place at a time when Saudi Arabia increased its production. And you can see the increase in the green line. This another way of looking at fundamentals. This is the relationship between oil prices and excess capacity. Excess capacity, that's production capacity that exists in those oil-producing countries, where it enabled them to increase production if they need to, and you can see how it declined during the period of higher prices. This is another way of looking at it. You can see how demand increased, that the green bars, and those red bar, the rest that is red, that's the excess capacity that remained in the oil-producing countries, is vanished. So compare that to the evidence of the speculation and make your own decision on what really caused the increase in prices. Here is another way of looking at it. The red line basically is the price. The top line is net exports of OPEC. And you can see that the sharp increase we've seen was during the period of decreasing exports. That's toward the end. This is OPEC production versus prices, and you can see that when prices were going up, and they went up several times here, you can see production decrease, production decrease, production decrease, and then when their production went up, prices went down. So it is about fundamentals. Here is another way of looking at it. This is the relationship between oil prices and the ratio of excess capacity to commercial inventories in the United States. And what's amazing about this graph is they are the mirror image of each other. Commercial inventories reflect demand, or it's a proxy for demand, and excess capacity is a proxy for supply. And you can see how prices are determined. It's supply and demand again. So if you compare the evidence of fundamentals versus the evidence of speculation, I think the answer is very clear. And what happened? This is up to 2005. What happened after 2005? When we have the price explosion, look what happened to that ratio. Prices continued to go up. This ratio approached zero. And this is another evidence that it is about fundamentals. Now, just a comment on the current situation in the United States. If you are a student of history and you like to learn from history, here is history for you. This is economic growth in the United States in the last 70 years or so. We ended up with a recession after every war, every major war. Every major war, we ended up with a recession. Here during Vietnam, because it lasted too long, the recession happened before its end. And this is important for the current war in Iraq. And then we have the first energy crisis, we have a recession. Second energy crisis, we have a recession. We have the Gulf War, we have a recession. Now we have both. We have energy crisis and we have a major war. So don't be surprised to have a major recession. One more word about energy and the future of energy. We know that car needs a lot of energy. And the government talks about efficiency and the smaller cars. Maybe they should look at the army first before they talk about our cars. But definitely you don't want to go back to horses, because that's not the way to go. So what is the future of energy? And I hope this is my message for the day. Any future energy, and you've been hearing Pickens and others, everyone talking about this new source of energy. The future of energy, the only source that we are going to end up with, is the one that's going to be condensed, compact, efficient, and saves time. That's why the horse does not work for us, because it does not save time. And it has to be condensed, and it has to be efficient. Now think about it, whether those new projects that everyone is proposing meet this criteria. It's all about fundamentals. Thank you.
I think Jim Heidel has one question.
3 years ago, I gave a presentation on ethanol, and 3 years ago, I predicted that within a decade, the Congress is going to ban ethanol. And I still stand by that comment.
Anybody else? One question? I've never heard that short an answer. Butch?
I'll talk to you about it.
The question Butch is raising, and you notice he had his big car being towed by that horse. What is the reason that price of oil has dropped so much the last couple of weeks?
That's again fundamentals. What happened is, in the last 6 months or so, demand in the United States decreased substantially. In fact, the decline by now is 1 million barrels. That surprised everyone, because they were saying the demand is inelastic, and Europeans were saying those damn Americans don't change their behavior and they like to have 4 or 5 cars in their driveway. Well, guess what? They changed their behavior. And just a quick comment on this. Why, when an American who have 4 SUVs goes to Paris, does not buy a car, when a French leftist environmentalist, just imagine that French person comes to the United States, buy an SUV? If it's cultural, then we have to answer that question. But it's not cultural. It's pure economics. The other reason is Saudi Arabia basically started 2 new projects, and they were able to increase their production substantially. So we have a massive decrease in demand and a large increase in supply, and that's why prices decline.
That it? Dr. Haljaji, you're obviously an excellent teacher. You've given us more than, quite frankly, I could consume. But on behalf of the club, I'm going to thank you extremely for the work you've done for us today.
Thank you.